All right, everyone, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, August 28th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading, alerts, and analysis. Got some exciting site updates coming as well, too, starting next week. Also, announcement, probably won't be a video on Wednesday. So I'm basically in Storm Adelia's path, pretty much. The good news is it doesn't look like it's going to be more than a Category 3. The bad news is that it's a Category 3. So it looks like I'm just expecting at this point to lose power some point Wednesday morning when it hits here. There is a small chance that it could curl up and miss, but not really expecting that at this point. So I probably will lose power at some point Wednesday morning. But tomorrow should be good. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. So, depending on how bad the damage is, who knows? Maybe they get the power set up quickly. Maybe they don't. But at this point, it does look like we're going to get at least some inconveniences here in the Bay Area. Anyways, let's get into the markets here today. So we're basically just chopping around. Spiders are all over the map. It's both the SPY, the Qs, and the Dow up 0.5%. But we did fade off the highs a little bit. We came up here and got some day trading lines set up there. But you can see we did come into this hourly level right around 443.50. That was also resistance last Wednesday. We tried to gap above it Thursday, and then we had that big sell. And then we kind of hammered on it today and pulled back a little bit, and we've just been chopping around. If you caught the early video today, I talked about 44.25 and 44.40 being points of interest. And, right now you can see SPX 44.26. So we're sitting right there. Tomorrow I wouldn't rule out, I think that Spider kind of just looks like it wants to go test 439 to me. There was also a fake print at this level, I believe, today. I don't have it on here. I know I had some people send it to me. So if you guys got it, let me know in the comments. But I wouldn't rule out a test of 439, maybe even tomorrow. Again, that 20 moving average still will be some minor resistance, which we're basically into right now, as well as the 50. So wouldn't surprise me if we need to go back check to here before moving higher. I will say it is going to be, next week will be holiday shortened, but this week I think, you got the last week of the month, a lot of traders on vacation, pre-gaming the Labor Day weekend. So as I said last week, I wouldn't be surprised if we were kind of like neutral to upside throughout the rest of the week. But tomorrow, I wouldn't rule out, or even Wednesday, I wouldn't even rule out a 439 test. Just to kind of satisfy that, and maybe even satisfy the gap, and satisfy that pivot right there. But either way, here market's kind of holding up. I don't expect a ton of volatility. We may get a little bit of whipsaw, back and forth like we had today, just kind of up and down. But this should be a quiet week outside of any geopolitical news that we get here for the most part here. And then once Labor Day comes in, I do think we get some volatility to come back. But for right now, market's just up on the day, and we're not going to make too much out of it. It is very light volume out here. So again, that's why we kind of give the market a neutral to upside bias during this week. You see the triple Qs there again, basically kissing that 20 moving average again, and then pulling back there again. I do think, it's possible, they're holding up okay, but it's possible we could go down and test, 362, maybe even, 363. There's a pivot right there. Again, wouldn't rule that out tomorrow, but again, let's not make too much out of the price action here. It's a light volume week, and it's probably going to stay that way. Russell here up. Russell's actually the big winner on the day, up just under 1%, though it did come pretty sharply off the highs. So really unable to hold a lot of the gains. We had a nice pump this morning, and then it's really been fading ever since. So again, this is something that may come in and fill the gap tomorrow as well. If you look on the intraday, same thing here. You got pivots right there, which we gapped above, and then you got the gap fill, and there's pivots in there as well. So I could see that hitting tomorrow. Definitely can't rule it out. I also can't rule out more upside here. Like I said, I'm not looking for any huge fireworks to go off, but we'll see what we get here. Dow also hammering on the 50 MA there via the DIA. Again, gap right down there. It just does look like, to me, for bulls, I would have preferred like a gap up to here and then hit 439, and then you could really start to take off. We didn't do that, so I don't know why. I just feel like we've got a magnet sitting there. At least that's the way I see it right now. But in any case, I don't expect a lot of fireworks this week, but again, we'll see what we get. Getting over to the semis, up 1% on the day. NVIDIA did gap and crap, and then it kind of came back, so that's helping out the SMH there. But in any case, stalling out at the 20 moving average. We'll see if it can get through the 50 at some point this week. There's still a lot of resistance up at 155, so just be aware of that. IGV hanging in there, hammering on this trend line one more time. There's still resistance up here around 350 to 352, so keep that in mind there. But IGV holding up okay. Again, we won't make too much out of the action here. Dow Transport's still weak, right? So down move, we talked about this last week. This is one of the weaker sectors. Just bear flagging on the daily. Today we tried to get above the 50, couldn't do that. With the volume light, can we float up and go to the 20, go to 16,000 again? It's certainly possible, but right now not a good pattern and not really good to see it unable to get much of a bid, at least in terms of breaking this pattern with a very light volume kind of anemic tape. So we'll see what we get here, but that goes sideways longer. That's telling you it wants to set up for a move down. So just be aware of that there with the Dow Transports. Okay, let's get over here to interest rates. So not a whole lot going on. We did have a bond auction today. And let's get our chart up. There we go. So 2-year here backing off a little bit. Again, we got that record close on Friday and just backing off a double top. I don't see any real problems here with yields, as you guys know. There's the 5-year backing off of 4.5. 10-year, a little bit of a micro bear flag there, possibly setting up, and the same thing with the 30. I do think that, TLT, I talked about this lately. I did quickly play that last week for a small gain. I do think this looks okay. This could get a move up into, maybe 98, 99. We'll watch this one for pattern here. That would take you up to this breakdown pivot there. Again, the bond trade was very, very, very crowded to the short side, and I'm not a bond bull, but when I see that, I generally want to get on the other side of the boat, at least a bounce, if not a counter-cyclical move altogether. But either way, TLT getting a little bit of a bounce there, and the long end of the yield curve is starting to come in just a little bit. So we're seeing that long bond bid up. Could be a sign of risk off, something to keep an eye on moving forward. XHB here, again, starting to put in that daily chart bear flag look. We had a nice bounce on Friday. Again, up 66 cents today, but still just in this choppy range. And if we just chop around here, you can put in a bear base, kind of like how you put in that bullish pullback bull base there on the way up. So just be aware of that with the XHB. Same thing with the ITB, same look there, down a little, or up a little bit less. But again, if you lose that 100 moving average, you got 77.50, and then really down to 75 are your big support levels there for the ITB. VNQ still holding on a little bit here, but still unable to get through that 20 moving average. Again, that still has resistance at 83 and 84. If we start to move down, 78 is good support here. XLF, again, still kind of that bear flaggish type of look. We did have a nice pop up 44 basis points. Again, came off the highs like everything else. JP Morgan coming in pretty sharply, stalled out at the 50 MA, and again, this still remains weak. So financials are weak. It's usually not a good sign, something to keep an eye on. KRE had that weekly close below that trend line on Friday, did not like that. And then KBE, a little bit better, in a little bit better shape, but still you can make a case you're moving down and kind of have like a minor little bear wedge there below the 50 MA. So again, Fins a little bit weak. It's definitely a bit of a red flag here. Broker dealers getting a nice bid. That's had a nice pop there. Look at 505 to 510. If we get through this trend line, it did come off the highs and now actually rallying back pretty nicely. So it went up there, pulled back, and now it's actually holding up. So XBD looks good for another bid into tomorrow. So we'll watch that. Crude here, all over the map, up 37 cents though. Was down pretty sharply earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was all over the map, and now kind of back to the flat line. XLE, again, gapping up, getting a nice rally coming off the highs. This is still doing weekly consolidation. Same thing at XOP and OIH. And just, by the way, gasoline coming in pretty sharply. Strange. You see the news with the storm. Usually this is a tailwind for gasoline, but it did come in off the highs pretty nicely. Nat gas was a big tailwind, or at least got a big tailwind, possibly from the storm news. I know there was news about strikes in Australia. Looks like those are going through here, and it's strange. We gapped up pretty sharply, came down, then we came way off the lows. This is interesting because the contract rollover is tomorrow, and this type of price action is what I would expect from a contract rollover. You come down, you come up, then you fill the gap there. This is kind of what it would normally look like on a rollover gap. But that's not until tomorrow. So nat gas is going to gap up to about 268 or so. So it's going to be up here tomorrow. I'm very interested to see how that trades tomorrow, but all over the map there. was the whole energy sector. So just a lot of volatility there over the last couple hours. But anyways, dollar index. So we look over to the DXY. It's just a little red candle, nothing terrible. Again, it's overbought on the weekly, but we did close above two big weekly levels. We are into the 50-week moving average, so we can't rule out a little bit of a pullback. In fact, I'm kind of favoring that at this point. But dollar is strong, and it's proven that it's strong by closing above this red bar and this red bar and this trend line on a weekly basis. So that's a big deal for the DXY. Now you've got the 50-week moving average and this pivot high. So it might need to consolidate here, but I don't see any problems right now with the dollar index, although it is pulling back just a little bit here today. Onto gold. Gold reasonably higher. So again, we talked about that. 200 moving average, we're basically holding it. If this flags up here, they can get a move to we'll just say 1975 here in the near term. Again, then if you get through that, it's 2000. If we start to curl back down and break 1900, it's 1825 to 1850 is your big support there. So gold holding up okay. We'll see if that flags up. You got silver, same thing. This is a little bit better of a pattern here in the short term. Watching silver here for pattern though. So again, we got that big surge. If this can consolidate, it can move up into, we'll call it 25 for now. But nice pop there last week, and it's holding the gain so far. If it does manage to get back below 2350, that's a red flag. But right now, it's holding up okay, and we'll respect it here for the meantime. Platinum, nice pop through 960. I didn't think it was going to get through that right away. So 990 to 1,000 is going to be your next big level there. So again, we could watch that for pattern as well. I still would feel better about it if it got down into this range here. But we'll see. You could put in a W. We'll see. Maybe a WV. But platinum here having a nice pop today, and we'll keep an eye on that. Palladium's still stuck in the range there. No new updates. And then copper here pulling back a little bit, still inside of this green candle. If you don't want to lose 370 again, otherwise I think you'll have some support down here, but then I think it's down to 340, as you guys know. Lastly, over to Bitcoin here. Again, not a whole lot going on. The longer this gets stuck in this sideways base, the weaker this support gets, and there is still support here. But the longer this consolidates, the more pressure it's building for a move below that. And if we take that out, it's really down to 21.5. So that's the big level there for Bitcoin. So it's kind of running, bulls are kind of running out of time to counter trend this. And, if it was strong, they should have done that pretty much immediately. They should have gone down here and then V-shaped. And that has not happened. So we're continuing sideways. Definitely going to have a neutral to bear bias here on Bitcoin until proven otherwise. But the longer this bakes in the oven here and goes sideways, the more of a base bears can build for a push through that 25,000 handle. So just be aware of that. All right, lastly to wrap up here, spiders again, getting a little bit of a bid. Looks like they might take it up here. So again, I talked about 44.40. I don't think they get up there now. I mean, who knows, maybe market makers gamma unwind or something. But in any case, we'll see what we get tomorrow. Getting a little bit of a short covering here going into the close. There's still resistance up at 440, 350. Either way you look at it on the spiders. But again, tomorrow we'll see. There was a fake print there. Let me know if you guys saw that. Maybe it gets hit tomorrow. We could gap down. Who knows? But either way, if we get through this level, obviously you'll have a little bit of a pivot there at 445, and then it's really up to like 448, 450. There on the spiders is going to be kind of your bigger level if we get there towards the end of the week. Anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.